Hello, this is John Avery with Synoptek. We're going to go ahead and show you what it's like to be a Synoptek analyst. This is a day in the life of a Synoptek analyst that is been notified of an incident in Darktrace, and we're going to jump right in and get a better understanding of what took place, what's going on, if it's still occurring in the environment, and then we're going to collect some data so that we can take it back to our client and take action on this. So before we do that, let's take a quick lay of the land so that you know how we look at this particular tool. In the top left-hand corner, you're going to see what looks like a search field, and that's exactly what we use it for, and that's exactly what it is. I can type in IP addresses, I can type in subnets, I can type in usernames, mobile devices, anything that I may be looking for in particular, and I can use that to very quickly narrow down to the user or device that I want to investigate further. Or maybe I have somebody on a watch list where I can be notified that something's taken place for this particular user, this high priority target, and I can very quickly narrow in on what's going on. In the top right-hand side, we have what looks like DVR controls, and that's exactly what they are. We can go back a minute, back 10 minutes, back an hour, or days, or forward in the same increments of time. And this allows us to very quickly and seamlessly replay incidents or replay an attacker's footprints and understand which path they took, where the malware or the ransomware may have attempted to traverse, or where it was successful in navigating the infrastructure. So it's extremely powerful and very helpful in our forensics work and understanding what occurred. Down here on the bottom, we also have what's called our threat tray. And this allows us to very quickly categorize based on threat severity the types of model breaches that may have triggered. Down here on the bottom, we can slice and dice these model breaches, so that way we can understand, well, if we're looking for something that occurred in the last 4 hours, or we're looking for a model breach that occurred in the last week, again, it very quickly allows us to understand when that occurred, or if we were notified, to dial directly into what's going on. And it's not always, even though it is categorized by threat severity, it's not always the most severe threats that are the most interesting. Very often we find down here on the lower scale of the yellow that the model breaches of lower severity are indicators of a potential compromise that may be taking place or could lead to a compromise with far-reaching repercussions. So our analysts are looking very closely at everything that's going on down here to ensure that no rock is left unturned. So again, we're going to dive deep. I'm going to show you again what my security analysts here at Synoptek would be looking for as soon as they jump into this environment. And I'm going to start that up right now. So the thing that looks interesting to me right off the bat is this one here, the math, device, and unusual activity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm looking here at these particular model breaches. This one seems pretty interesting. I'm going to go ahead and click on it by clicking on the little magnifying glass icon, and it's going to take me right to this device here. So one of the things that I can do right off the bat is I can hover my mouse over this device that's highlighted in yellow, something that I know, again, is indicating that there's something going on, something's amiss, and I can see some basic data. I have a credential, so I know which user this is. I know that this is belongs to a Sue.Smith. I have her IP address, and I have some interesting tags. I know that Sue's on a watch list, and I know that Sue is part of HR. Okay, that's interesting. That's good to know. I also have over here on the right side of Sue's machine a variety of platform-looking icons that are all representative of servers of some sort. It could be a file server, could be an Exchange server. We can find out more information again by hovering, but it's just interesting to know that Sue's machine is connecting to a lot of servers over a short period of time. And over here on the left, we have Sue's machine connecting to other devices on her particular subnet. Down here on the bottom is broadcast traffic. So it's other devices, other subnets in the infrastructure. We also have on the right-hand side a variety of connection data points. So we have the types of connections, the connection status, normal or unusual, remote ports that Sue's machine may be connecting to or are connecting back to her machine. We have different devices that she may be connecting to, subnets, the types of protocols that she's using. All of this is extremely helpful for the event that maybe Sue's machine is, uploading documents or files to, say, Dropbox.com. And we see just an abnormal shift in the amount of, say, TCP traffic out to the web. So that is, again, helpful at a snapshot for our analysts to understand, again, 10,000 foot level, what may be happening with Sue's machine. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and rewind just 1 minute using our DVR controls, and I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to pull up Sue's device event log, and we're going to see what happened. Why does Darktrace think that something's going on with Sue's machine? And as we see here, she has just a single connection right now to this particular server. Looks like it's a domain controller, so that's interesting. But by itself, it's not enough to be interesting to incriminate Sue's machine here. That something's wrong. I'm going to go ahead and move this over just so we can see all the connections that take place. Again, as we wait to see what takes place here with Sue's device, it's very much worth pointing out that under the hood, Darktrace is leveraging the most advanced bleeding edge artificial intelligence and machine learning. And what that allows us to do is to reduce the noise that we would typically see in other security solutions. It allows our security analysts to jump right in and gain very meaningful insight and actionable data to take to our clients so that we can make timely decisions. I went ahead and paused it, and right before we noticed that Sue's attempting to make a variety of interesting connections, and in our device event log, we have some timestamps, and we have all of the connection attempts or connection successes that Sue's machine has made or is continuing to attempt to make. So a couple of things strike me, again, because I'm Synoptek security analyst. I notice that Sue's machine is connecting at 3:17 local time, but that's 3:17 a.m., not p.m. I know that Sue's extremely dedicated. She's a really solid employee. I know this because I've had weekly cadence calls with my client, and they've talked about Sue in the past, but I just don't know. I don't see a scenario where Sue is, working at 3 a.m., but it could be possible, right? So the other thing I noticed is that Sue's machine is making a significant number of failed connection attempts to a variety of IP addresses that all seem to have an alphanumeric character that is sequential in nature. That's interesting. That's very indicative of your traditional port scan, which tells me that at 3 a.m. in the morning, Sue's machine is performing some sort of reconnaissance. Okay, interesting. Let's keep playing here. Again, could be a network admin doing something with Sue's machine. It's difficult to know just yet, but I do know that, again, her credential is on this particular device at this particular time, and for some reason she's performing a port scan. Oh, interesting. Okay, so now let's see what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and pause it again, and we're going to take another look to see, again, what's happening here. So I do notice that after the port scan, Sue finally connects to a device and browses to the administrator documents folder. Okay, well, why would she do that? And then I noticed that she's downloading, she's got an SMB read access. She's downloading 3D map XLS. She's downloading a docx file, a Word file, and that's M&A requirements and pricing. She's also downloading what looks like a spec sheet. Well, again, I have some understanding of, Sue's function. I know she's in human resources, but I think it's really strange that at, again, 3 a.m. in the morning, she performed a port scan to identify what other devices may be listening on the network. And once she finds one, she goes right to the administrator folder and starts downloading files that don't necessarily call out or speak to me that they belong to human resources. And what's interesting here is Darktrace allows me to know that she has never touched these devices or these files in the past. And it knows this because Darktrace, again, under the hood, is watching all of the packets traverse the core, and it builds a baseline and understanding and patterns of life of what users are doing on their day-to-day basis, performing their job function. Darktrace understands how users compare to other users within the network, or groups compare to other groups. So Darktrace understands that not only does Sue never access these files, it also understands that Sue is in human resources, because Sue's typical pattern of life, Sue's typical traffic, mirrors that of other individuals in human resources. It understands that human resources only typically accesses files on a day-to-day basis, or week over week, or month over month, that are very different than the types of files and the types of internet traffic patterns that, say, for example, the finance department elicits. So it understands that these types of files, this is not what Sue normally goes for. I'm going to go ahead and play it again. And as we see again, she's got some interesting simultaneous connections going on, and she's continuing to broaden her reach out to a variety of servers, starting to really raise the hairs on the back of my neck, because this is something that I don't know what's going on here. And just 7-10 minutes in, just a handful of clicks, my security analyst is starting to really get concerned, and oh, here he goes. Darktrace has identified, with all things considered, that there's a 68% probability of unusual activity on Sue's machine due to an internal data transfer, internal connected devices, and internal connections to closed ports. So again, Darktrace is pointing out the fact that unlike every other day, every other hour, every other week that it has ever seen Sue Smith and her particular device and its regular patterns of life, it's never seen Sue's machine do this. At 3 a.m. on any day, perform a port scan, pull down files that Sue's never touched before. All of this together has a 68% likelihood that something is amiss. And what this means is that our security analysts have to go in and perform additional investigation. This is absolutely cause for that additional investigation. But again, notice in just 10 minutes, all of the other noise, all of the other investigation, all of the other haystacks that we would normally have to go through with your traditional tools, all that's gone. It's all been removed for us. All right. Here's something else that we like to look at as well. It's a little graphic that allows us to compare exactly what I was just speaking to. So this here is an image that shows not only Sue Smith down here on the bottom, but it also shows all of the other devices and users and credentials that are also in human resources. And Darktrace has categorized this traffic, these patterns of life, and has grouped them into a human resources bucket. And as we see here, day over day, the traffic is fairly consistent. And then we see this significant ripple. And then that right there is Sue's machine, what we just saw, acting inappropriately and out of bounds for what Sue's normal pattern of life may be. So again, this allows our analysts to very quickly, in just a handful of clicks, to see that something absolutely is wrong, something needs to be investigated further, and we may need to, depending on the type of severity, contact our client immediately. So if we chose to, we could, on any one of these items here in the device event log and the breach log, we can go ahead and click on this little down arrow, and allows us to create a packet capture for this event. So we could very quickly drill down deeper into, at a packet layer, what took place, retrace those footprints. We can go back in time and download a packet capture and understand what got into Sue's machine using Sue's credential, where this attack originated from. Is it malware? Is it an advanced persistent threat? Are there other devices that this particular threat is attempting to propagate to? And all of this is captured again at the packet layer. So this is something that we can use and we have used to understand and analyze additional forensics, and it allows us to build a case for our clients so that they can understand where this started. Maybe this is a policy violation. Maybe there is something that is malicious on Sue's machine using her credentials. But all of this data allows us to find that out very quickly. The last thing that I wanted to go to briefly is what we refer to as our subnet view. Go ahead and close that. In a normal environment, outside of this demo environment, we would potentially see a significant number of these cubes in this huge array. And what's interesting about that is each one of these cubes, again, represents a subnet. And in some environments, say for some clients that we work with that have PCI information or HIPAA information, as I spin this around here, they have very specific needs around segregating servers and subnets that may contain or be the storage house for very important EPHI or PII, MPI, the types of data that you just don't want your everyday user to have access to, or even to have just direct access from the internet, right, without some sort of compensating controls. So oftentimes our analysts are looking at this in terms of, okay, I know that this is a segregated network, and so nothing should be going in or out, or we can help build custom models so that we understand, well, if we do see traffic, we can develop patterns of life for that traffic and understand that traffic. But there are occasions when we see these lines of connections going from one subnet to another, and this again, quickly calls out and allows us to see that something is wrong. Somewhere, somebody has circumvented the controls in place to gain access to that segregated network, and there's an ongoing data transfer. That is bad, something that we definitely want to call out to our client. So again, the idea here with Darktrace is we cut out the noise. The artificial intelligence and machine learning under the hood allows us to very quickly dial into something that may be amiss, an incident that we may need to investigate, something that is out of place, and it allows our analysts to be very, very efficient in handling these security incidents. Thank you again very much for joining us and viewing this demo with us today. I hope you got a lot out of it. Please, if you have questions, be glad to work with you one-on-one to resolve any questions or curiosities you have about this particular tool.